In the council hall, humanity launches its first war across the galaxy. The council hall was vast, more immense than any human building on Earth. Its walls shimmered with a strange light, and the air was filled with a low hum of technology that humans could barely understand. Species from across the galaxy were seated in groups according to their planets, some large and colorful, others small and gray. Humans had only been observers here for a few decades, and most of the alien delegates still looked at them as children playing with dangerous toys. Daniel Carter, the human ambassador, stood quietly in the human section. He was a tall man with dark hair and calm eyes. Unlike many humans who might have been nervous in the presence of hundreds of alien species, he looked steady and confident. He knew what he was about to say would shock everyone. He had spent years preparing for this moment, studying every species, every weakness, and every rule the council followed. The session began like all others. Delegates exchanged greetings, small gestures that were polite but full of hidden meaning. The council chair, an old and wise being named Varlin, opened the meeting. His voice was deep and resonated in the hall. He welcomed humanity, though his tone carried a hint of doubt. "Ambassador Carter," Varlin said, "you have the floor for your statement." Daniel took a slow breath. He stepped forward and spoke clearly, his voice echoing in the enormous hall. "Today, humanity announces the beginning of its first war beyond our solar system." A wave of shock passed through the hall. Gasps and murmurs spread. Many species stared at the humans, unable to believe what they had just heard. Some leaned forward, curious, while others leaned back, clearly disgusted or amused. Varlin raised his hands to quiet the hall. "Ambassador Carter, please explain yourself. You are a young species. You have no right to wage war across the galaxy. What is this?" Daniel's expression did not change. "We have studied the Cathari Dominion for decades. They enslave countless species and destroy worlds without thought. Humanity will no longer remain passive. We will strike. We will free the enslaved. We will end their tyranny." Some aliens laughed, thinking humans could not possibly challenge the Cathari. One large, armored species called the Grather leaned over to another delegate and whispered something that sounded like a roar. The Cathari delegate, tall and sleek with dark, shiny skin, smiled coldly. "Humans," the Cathari said, "you are foolish. You have no fleet, no power, and no allies. You will die before your war begins." Daniel did not flinch. "You are mistaken," he said. "We have built our fleet in secret. We have trained our soldiers. We have prepared for this day for decades." The hall fell silent. Many delegates began whispering among themselves. Humans had always been underestimated. They were young, emotional, and small compared to most species in the council. No one believed humans could wage war on a galactic scale. Yet Daniel's words had a confidence that made some pause. Varlin's voice rose again. "Ambassador Carter, this is reckless. The council does not allow war without agreement. You are threatening peace." Daniel stepped closer to the podium. "The council's peace is built on the suffering of enslaved species. Humanity refuses to wait while others are killed and imprisoned. We will act. You may call it reckless. We call it justice." At that moment, a signal arrived in the hall. A hologram flickered to life, showing distant space near the Cathari border. It displayed human ships emerging from hidden positions. The ships were sleek and fast, unlike anything the council had seen. Even the Cathari, who had seen hundreds of species, gasped at the sight. Daniel gestured toward the hologram. "Our fleet is ready. This is only the beginning." The council erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted at one another. Some tried to call the Cathari to defend themselves. Others whispered about forming alliances to stop the humans. The Cathari delegates' smile faded. They had underestimated humans. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, Earth's leaders were watching the council feed with a sense of quiet pride. President Laura Benson, a strong woman in her 50s with a sharp mind, stood in the command room, her hands folded behind her back. Around her, generals and engineers monitored the fleet. Ships were already moving at faster-than-light speeds towards strategic Cathari positions. General Matthew Hayes, a grizzled veteran, turned to her. "Madam President, the Council thinks this is madness, but our fleet is ready. The Cathari won't know what hit them." Laura nodded. "Humanity has waited too long. The galaxy has grown dark while others suffered. Today we take a stand." Back in the council hall, the Cathari delegate finally spoke, their voice cold and sharp. "Humans, you do not understand the power you face. We will destroy you before you even reach our worlds." Daniel met their gaze steadily. You underestimate us, as all tyrants do. Humanity will not fail. For hours, the council argued. Many delegates demanded that humanity be stopped. Some even threatened to intervene militarily, but there was little they could do. The humans had built their fleet far from known space. By the time anyone could act, the first strike would already be underway. Some species, however, began to realize the truth. Humans were not reckless. Their confidence came from preparation, not bravado. They had studied the Cathari, learned their weaknesses, and built their fleet in secret. They had learned from centuries of alien technology and improved upon it. A small, insect-like species called the Veylan whispered among themselves. Humans, maybe they are not as weak as we thought. Maybe they will change the balance. In the human section, Daniel returned to his seat. His face was calm, but his mind raced with plans. The first strike would be dangerous but necessary. Humanity could no longer hide behind the Council's rules. They would show the galaxy that a young species could rise, not with cruelty, but with determination and justice. As the Council Hall continued to debate, human ships silently jumped from hidden sectors of space. They moved swiftly and without hesitation. Each ship carried weapons designed not to destroy worlds completely, but to dismantle military infrastructure. Communications arrays, shipyards, and command centers were the primary targets. Civilian areas were avoided wherever possible. Humanity wanted the galaxy to see that this war was different. Captain Ryan Cole commanded one of the first strike ships. He was young, with sandy hair and clear blue eyes, but his hands were steady on the controls. "All systems green," he reported. "Weapons ready, target coordinates locked." Lieutenant Amy Foster, his second-in-command, nodded. "Let us show them what humans can do." The fleet jumped through hyperspace, emerging near a Cathari border world. Scouts reported that defenses were minimal. It seemed the Cathari had relied on intimidation and reputation, not expecting a young species to challenge them directly. "Attack!" Ryan ordered. The fleet moved like a storm. Lasers and missiles struck with precision, taking out shipyards and communication hubs. Cathari forces scrambled to respond, but their ships were slow and poorly coordinated. Their doctrine assumed that smaller species would never dare attack so boldly. From the council hall, the humans' actions were being broadcast. Ambassadors watched as the young species they had ignored suddenly demonstrated power and strategy that rivaled the galaxy's oldest civilizations. Whispers of respect and fear spread quickly. Daniel Carter stood again. His voice was calm but firm. "Humanity does not fight for conquest. We fight to free those who cannot defend themselves. We fight for justice. Today, the galaxy will learn that humans cannot be ignored." Some delegates began to change their minds. They saw a species not acting out of greed or desire for power, but out of principle. Humans did not destroy planets. They dismantled tyranny. In one distant system, a Cathari leader, desperate and angry, activated a fleet to retaliate. But by the time their forces reached the first strike zone, humanity's fleet had already moved to the next target. Their speed and planning made them almost untouchable. Captain Ryan watched as the Cathari fleet approached. "They're coming faster than expected," he said. Lieutenant Amy checked the sensors. "We're ready. They won't catch us off guard." The humans had learned something the Cathari had never considered. Discipline, intelligence, and preparation could overcome size and history. Every move was calculated. Every decision was measured. They fought not out of rage, but with purpose. Meanwhile, Daniel's words in the council hall echoed through the galaxy. "The Cathari will not enslave anyone again. Humanity stands for all who cannot fight for themselves. This war is not ours alone. It is the war of every species that dreams of freedom." Some delegates began sending messages to enslaved systems, offering hope. Others quietly began preparing alliances with humanity, realizing that the young species could be the key to ending centuries of tyranny. By the time the first day of war ended, the council hall was in chaos. The Cathari were shocked. Many delegates were scared. A few species were inspired. And humans had taken their first step into a much larger galaxy, proving that even a young species could make history. In the quiet command room on Earth, President Laura Benson watched reports coming in from the fleet. "This is only the beginning," she said. "Humanity will not stop until every enslaved species is free." And somewhere in the distant reaches of space, Captain Ryan Cole smiled as his ship moved to the next target. Humanity had entered the war. The galaxy would never be the same again. The first strike had gone better than anyone on Earth had dared to hope. Human ships moved through Cathari space like shadows, precise and unstoppable. Captain Ryan Cole watched the screens in his command ship as explosions lit the dark skies of the Cathari worlds. Shipyards, communication relays, and military stations were destroyed one by one. Civilian areas were untouched, though terrified populations watched the human fleet with awe and disbelief. Lieutenant Amy Foster leaned over the console. "Captain, sensors show a Cathari counterattack forming near the outer sector. They are sending 3 battle groups." Ryan studied the tactical map. "Good, let them come. They still don't know how we fight." The humans had prepared for this moment. Every ship was designed for speed and precision. Their weapons could disable enemy ships without destroying entire planets. Their crews were trained to act with calm and discipline, even under extreme pressure. It was a combination of skill and planning that had never been seen before in the galaxy. As the Cathari ships approached, Ryan gave the order to engage. Human fighters darted forward, small but fast. Missiles found their targets with deadly accuracy. The Cathari fleet fired wildly, unsure of how to respond to this new tactic. Human ships moved in patterns that no alien commander had anticipated. They struck quickly, then vanished, leaving the Cathari confused and frustrated. "Status report," Ryan asked. Lieutenant Amy checked the sensors. 2 Cathari groups destroyed, 1 retreating. Minimal human casualties. Weapons are fully operational. They are trying to regroup. Ryan nodded. "Good, keep pressing. We cannot let them recover." Back on Earth, President Laura Benson watched the reports coming in. Her face was calm, but her eyes betrayed her intensity. "The Cathari will learn that humans do not fight like anyone else. They cannot predict us and they cannot stop us." General Matthew Hayes stood beside her. "Our fleets are moving faster than expected. If we maintain this pace, we can liberate several systems within a few days. The Cathari will not recover quickly enough." Laura's eyes narrowed. "Then we will give them no time. This is not just about winning a war. It is about sending a message. Humanity will not be ignored. Humanity will protect those who cannot protect themselves." In the Cathari capital, panic had taken root. The leadership had assumed that humans were a minor threat, one that would retreat when faced with their superior fleet. They were wrong. Their advisors pleaded for a defensive strategy, but the Cathari leader, a sharp and calculating figure named Xyler, refused. "They are young," Xyler said. "They cannot maintain this attack. We will wait. We will strike when they overextend." His generals disagreed. "Xyler, they have already destroyed key installations. Our fleets are scattered. They are moving faster than we can respond." "We cannot wait." Xyler's eyes narrowed. "Then we adapt. We cannot let the humans set the pace. We will hunt them." But humans were already several steps ahead. They had anticipated the Cathari's response patterns. Each strike moved them closer to liberating worlds without allowing the enemy time to regroup. They were careful, precise, and fast. On one small mining world, enslaved Cathari laborers watched the human fleet appear in the sky. Captain Ryan Cole's ship hovered above the planet, broadcasting a message. "People of this world, you are free. The Cathari cannot hold you any longer. We are here to help. Remain calm and follow instructions." Fear and disbelief filled the laborers' eyes. For generations, they had known only chains and harsh orders. Freedom seemed impossible. Yet here it was, delivered not by words alone, but by the presence of humans who had risked everything to come for them. Lieutenant Amy Foster coordinated the landing teams. "Prepare the transports. We need to evacuate the workers and secure critical infrastructure." Ryan nodded. "Do it carefully. We cannot leave them vulnerable." As human soldiers landed on the planet, Cathari guards attempted to resist. They were armed and trained, but they were unprepared for the human speed and discipline. Within hours, the planet was under human control. Enslaved workers were freed, and emergency medical teams began treating the wounded. Meanwhile, back in the council hall, word of the human strike spread quickly. Delegates who had mocked humanity now whispered in fear and awe. Some began sending messages to enslaved systems, hoping to coordinate with humans for liberation. Others tried to form alliances to stop them, but many were hesitant. Humanity had shown it would not be easily defeated, and other species began to see them as a force for change, not just a threat. Ambassador Daniel Carter remained calm in the council hall. He spoke to the assembly. Humanity does not act recklessly. Every strike is calculated. Every decision is made with care. We are not here to dominate. We are here to protect. The Cathari have enslaved countless species. We will end it. Some delegates were inspired by his words. They began to realize that humans were different. They were young, yes, but disciplined, clever, and willing to act when others would not. Slowly, respect began to replace doubt. In another sector, Captain Ryan Cole's fleet encountered a large Cathari warship. It was heavily armed and dangerous. Many would have considered it impossible to defeat. But humans had a strategy. They drew the ship into a narrow asteroid field where its size became a weakness. Human fighters moved quickly through the tight spaces, striking at weak points that Cathari engineers had assumed were protected. "Direct hit on the main reactor," Amy reported. "They're going down." The Cathari warship exploded in a flash of light, leaving the humans unscathed. The crew cheered quietly. Victory was becoming a habit, but they remained focused. They knew the Cathari would fight back harder and complacency could be deadly. On Earth, scientists monitored the humans' tactics with amazement. Their technology had been studied for decades, yet the humans continually found new ways to improve, to strike faster, and to avoid unnecessary destruction. They were not just fighting, they were innovating under fire. President Laura Benson addressed her team. The Cathari believed they were untouchable. They believed humans were weak. Today we have proven them wrong. We must keep moving. Every system we liberate strengthens the message. Freedom cannot wait. Meanwhile, enslaved species and other systems began to rise. The humans had shown them that resistance was possible. Small groups sabotaged Cathari supply lines, freed prisoners, and sent messages to join forces with human fleets. What had begun as a military strike had now become a galaxy-wide movement. Captain Ryan Cole watched one of these small rebellions unfold on a nearby world. "They're rising faster than expected," he said to Amy. "We need to coordinate with them." Amy nodded. "I'll send instructions. We can guide them without risking the civilians." The humans moved carefully, ensuring that every action strengthened their position and protected those they liberated. They were soldiers, yes, but also teachers, leaders, and protectors. This combination made them different from any species the Cathari had ever faced. Back in the council hall, tension grew. The Cathari delegate was silent for the first time in decades. Their confidence had been shattered by human strategy, speed, and discipline. Whispers of fear spread among other delegates. If humans could do this to the Cathari, what would stop them from changing the galaxy? Daniel Carter remained calm. He knew the war was just beginning. Many challenges lay ahead, but the first strikes had proven humanity's resolve and capability. They had shown that even a young species could challenge centuries of oppression. In the Cathari capital, Xyler paced back and forth. "Humans, they are not like any species we have known. They fight with logic and purpose, not anger. They cannot be predicted." "Every strike is calculated," one of his generals spoke. "We underestimated them. We cannot hold them back with our current forces. We must retreat and rebuild." Xyler shook his head. "No, we will not run. The humans must be stopped. Find a way, any way." But humans were already several moves ahead. They anticipated the Cathari's strategies, learned from every engagement, and adapted faster than the Cathari could. It was a new kind of warfare, one built on intelligence, discipline, and careful planning. On the front lines, human soldiers continued to liberate worlds. Children who had never known freedom smiled for the first time. Families separated for generations were reunited. The message of humanity spread. The young species that others had mocked had the courage, the skill, and the heart to change the galaxy. Captain Ryan Cole looked out from his ship as a newly liberated world celebrated below. He felt a mixture of pride and responsibility. Humanity had entered the war, and they were not here to dominate. They were here to protect, to teach, and to show that freedom was worth fighting for. Lieutenant Amy Foster joined him at the observation deck. "The Cathari won't give up easily," she said quietly. Ryan nodded. "No, they won't, but neither will we. This is just the beginning. Humanity fights not because we want war, but because we cannot ignore injustice, and we will win one world at a time." The fleet moved on to the next target, faster than the Cathari could respond. Every strike, every liberated world, every act of protection and discipline strengthened humanity's reputation. They were no longer just observers in the council hall. They were a force that would reshape the galaxy forever. As night fell on Earth, President Laura Benson watched the stars with a quiet smile. Humanity's first war beyond the solar system had begun, and already it was changing everything. The galaxy was waking up to a new reality. Young, small, and underestimated, humanity had shown it could fight, protect, and inspire on a scale no one had thought possible. The war was just starting, but one thing was clear. The galaxy would never be the same again. The galaxy was beginning to notice humanity in a way it never had before. The young species that most delegates had dismissed as small and weak had become a force that could no longer be ignored. Human fleets moved quickly and carefully, striking Cathari outposts and liberating enslaved worlds. Every victory inspired hope, not fear. Humanity's way of fighting was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Captain Ryan Cole's fleet had just completed a liberation mission on a mining planet where thousands of Cathari laborers had been forced to work under brutal conditions. The humans had disabled the Cathari facilities, freed the workers, and repaired critical systems so the population could survive independently. The grateful people looked at the humans with wide eyes, some unable to speak, while others wept openly. Lieutenant Amy Foster watched as small children ran to greet human soldiers. "Look at them," she said softly. "They've never known freedom before. We've given them hope." Ryan nodded. "And that hope will spread. The galaxy is watching, Amy. Every world we liberate strengthens our position." Meanwhile, in a nearby system, the Cathari regrouped. They had lost control of multiple planets in a matter of days, and their leadership was becoming frantic. Xyler called an emergency meeting with his generals. His sleek, dark eyes glimmered with anger. "Humans are not like any species we have faced. They move faster, strike harder, and adapt constantly. We cannot predict their actions. We must find a way to stop them before this spreads further." One of his generals, a tall figure with armored scales, spoke. "Xyler, we cannot hold them with our current forces. They are liberating our enslaved populations faster than we can respond. If we do not act, other systems will join them and our control will collapse." Xyler clenched his fists. "Then we will use fear. We will show the galaxy that humans cannot stop us. We will strike a world so hard that no one will dare follow them." But humans were already several steps ahead. Earth's leaders had studied the Cathari for decades and had anticipated their response patterns. The humans' next move was already planned. While the Cathari focused on fear, the humans were building alliances with liberated populations and preparing coordinated strikes across multiple systems. On a world called Maris 7, a former slave planet, humans coordinated with local resistance groups. Small teams sabotaged Cathari supply lines, destroyed communications towers, and helped civilians escape from military complexes. These acts were done with precision and care, minimizing danger to innocent people. Captain Ryan Cole monitored the operation from his command ship. "Everything is on schedule," he said. "The Cathari are confused and scattered. Our allies on the ground are ready to take control." Lieutenant Amy Foster checked the sensors. "The local resistance is moving faster than we expected. They are learning quickly." Humanity's training is making a real difference. Across the galaxy, the council hall was filled with whispers. The delegates who had once mocked humans now watched with fear and curiosity. Reports of liberated worlds reached them constantly. Some began sending messages to enslaved populations, hoping to coordinate with humans. Others quietly reconsidered their own alliances. Humanity had not only proven its strength, but had shown a sense of justice that few could deny. Ambassador Daniel Carter stood calmly in the hall, observing the reactions. "Humanity does not seek domination," he said to the assembly. "We do not take what is not ours. We fight to protect those who cannot protect themselves. The Cathari have enslaved countless lives, and we will end it." Some delegates began to nod subtly. They were starting to understand that humans were different. They fought not for glory, not for power, but for principle. It was a concept alien to many species, who had always equated war with conquest. On another front, human fleets encountered a heavily fortified Cathari world. It was their first real challenge, with massive defensive networks and fleets stationed around the planet. Captain Ryan Cole studied the tactical display carefully. "This will be more difficult than previous strikes," he said. "We need to be careful and precise. We cannot risk civilian lives." Lieutenant Amy nodded. "We can do it. We've faced worse odds before, and we've succeeded." The human fleet moved strategically. They targeted power plants, shipyards, and command centers, disabling the Cathari's ability to respond effectively. Unlike most species, humans focused on disabling military capabilities rather than destroying entire cities. Civilians watched in shock as their oppressors were defeated without their homes being destroyed. The Cathari forces tried to retaliate, but humans anticipated their moves. Missiles were intercepted, fleets were outmaneuvered, and communications were constantly disrupted. By the end of the first engagement, the Cathari had lost half their stationed ships without significant human losses. Back on Earth, President Laura Benson received reports from the front. "They're doing exactly what we hoped," she said. "The Cathari will be forced to respond to multiple threats at once. Our strategy is working." General Matthew Hayes nodded. "Humanity's approach is unlike anything they've faced. Speed, intelligence, and discipline. They cannot predict us." The Cathari were growing desperate. Xyler ordered all remaining fleets to converge on human positions, hoping to crush them with superior numbers. But humans had already anticipated this. Each engagement was carefully planned, with backup forces ready to strike from unexpected angles. Human commanders adapted quickly, learning from each encounter and using every advantage available. On a liberated world, former slaves celebrated. Children ran through fields, parents embraced, and communities began to rebuild. Humans had not only freed them, but had shown them that survival and independence were possible. Captain Ryan Cole observed one such celebration from orbit. "Look at them, Amy," he said. "This is why we fight. This is why humanity cannot stand by." Amy smiled. "And the more we help, the more the galaxy will see humans in a new way, not just as fighters, but as protectors." Even among other alien species, humanity's reputation was growing. Some began sending emissaries to offer assistance or technology, hoping to align themselves with the rising power. Others quietly strengthened their defenses, realizing that humans could not be ignored. In the council hall, Daniel Carter continued to speak. "We do not act for ourselves, we act for every species that has been silenced. The Cathari's reign is ending. Freedom will spread." The word spread quickly. Enslaved populations in distant systems began to rise. Some sabotaged Cathari operations, others took up arms alongside human forces, and some simply spread the word of hope and liberation. The war had become more than a military campaign. It was a movement that inspired the galaxy. On the battlefield, humans continued to strike with precision. Captain Ryan Cole's fleet moved from system to system, each mission carefully planned. Civilian lives were protected, resistance forces were trained, and Cathari forces were steadily weakened. Lieutenant Amy Foster watched the sensors. "Captain, the Cathari are attempting a coordinated strike across 3 sectors. They are moving faster than expected." Ryan studied the display. "Let them come. We've prepared for this. Our forces are ready. We will show them that speed and strategy are more powerful than size alone." The Cathari fleets converged, expecting to overwhelm the humans with numbers, but human strategy was flawless. Fleets moved like clockwork, striking weak points, dividing enemy forces, and disabling their coordination. The Cathari were confused and frustrated. Every strike they attempted was met with precision counterattacks. On Earth, President Laura Benson received updates from the front lines. "Humanity is changing the war," she said. "Every victory inspires hope. Every liberation strengthens our position. The Cathari are on the defensive, and the galaxy is beginning to notice." Even as the war raged, humans remained disciplined and humane. They did not destroy worlds unnecessarily. They treated liberated populations with care and respect. They trained local forces to defend themselves and rebuild their societies. This combination of strength and empathy was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Captain Ryan Cole looked out at a newly liberated world. Children played in the streets, adults rebuilt homes, and the sky was filled with human ships hovering in protection. He turned to Amy. "This is why we fight. Every life we save, every world we free is a victory for humanity and for the galaxy." Amy nodded. "And the more we do, the more others will rise. Humanity is not just fighting a war, we are starting a movement." In the council hall, the whispers had turned into discussions. Many delegates who had once ignored or mocked humanity were now considering alliances or sending messages of support. The galaxy was beginning to recognize that humans were different. They were disciplined, clever, and principled. They were not just fighters, they were liberators. Xyler, the Cathari leader, watched the reports of repeated losses. His confidence was gone. His empire was being dismantled not through raw power, but through strategy, discipline, and a willingness to protect the weak. Humans, he muttered. They are unlike any species we have faced. They are not stopping. We cannot predict them. We cannot control them. Captain Ryan Cole and his fleet moved to the next system. Another Cathari world awaited liberation. Humans had learned to strike precisely, adapt quickly, and protect civilians. Their reputation was spreading faster than their fleet. Lieutenant Amy Foster prepared the tactical briefing. Captain, the next mission is critical. The Cathari may concentrate all remaining forces here. We need to move carefully. Ryan studied the star maps. We will, but this is exactly the type of challenge we were trained for. We fight with purpose, not haste. We win because we are ready, disciplined, and we care about those we protect. The fleet jumped into hyperspace. The war was far from over, but humanity's influence had already begun to change the galaxy. Every strike, every liberation, and every act of protection sent a clear message. Humans would not be ignored, and they would not fail. In distant systems, enslaved populations whispered hope to one another. Small resistance groups coordinated with human fleets. Messages of freedom spread like wildfire. Humanity had become more than a military force. They were symbols of justice, protectors of the weak, and a rising power the galaxy could no longer dismiss. Captain Ryan Cole looked at Amy as the fleet approached the next target. The Cathari think they can stop us with fear, but we fight for hope, for freedom, and for life, and that makes us unstoppable, Amy smiled. Then let's give them hope they cannot ignore. The fleet moved forward, ready to strike, ready to liberate, and ready to prove that humanity's first war across the galaxy was only the beginning. The Cathari Dominion was collapsing faster than anyone had imagined. Human fleets had struck with speed and precision, liberating world after world, while enslaved populations rose against their oppressors. What had begun as a war to free a few systems had become a galaxy-wide movement, and humanity had become the central force behind it. Captain Ryan Cole watched the latest report from orbit above a liberated industrial planet. Smoke still rose from destroyed military installations, but the civilians were unharmed and already rebuilding. Children played in the streets, and workers repaired factories. The humans had left behind teams to assist with governance and safety, ensuring that the people could maintain their freedom. Lieutenant Amy Foster joined him on the observation deck. They're already organizing schools and councils, she said quietly. It's amazing how fast they adapt when they have the chance. Ryan nodded. This is why we fight, not just for victory, but for what comes after. Freedom isn't just being safe from the Cathari, it's being able to live, to grow, to build. Back in the Cathari capital, Xyler paced angrily in his chambers. His empire was crumbling, and there seemed to be nothing he could do to stop it. He had ordered his fleets to regroup, to strike at humans where they thought they were weakest, but every plan failed. The humans adapted faster than he could anticipate. One of his generals, a tall, armored figure, spoke cautiously. Xyler, their fleets are everywhere. The enslaved populations are rebelling across multiple systems. Even our allies are afraid to intervene. We may have lost the war. Xyler's eyes narrowed. Then we will negotiate from strength. If we cannot defeat them, we must survive, offer surrender terms, but do not appear weak. Meanwhile, human fleets had already positioned themselves around key Cathari worlds, ready to enforce the liberation. Earth's leaders, including President Laura Benson, watched the progress with satisfaction but remained vigilant. This is the moment we have been preparing for, she said to her advisors. The Cathari can no longer hide behind fear. Humanity has shown the galaxy a new way, strength with justice. We must continue until every enslaved species is free. General Matthew Hayes nodded. The fleets are ready for coordinated strikes. We can liberate the remaining Cathari systems within weeks. Their leadership will have no choice but to surrender. In the council hall, delegates from other species watched closely. The humans had not only defeated the Cathari militarily, but had also earned the respect of countless liberated populations. Many began sending envoys to Earth, offering support or resources. Even species that had previously dismissed humanity as insignificant were now considering alliances. Ambassador Daniel Carter stood calmly, observing the hall. "The galaxy has seen what humanity can do," he said. "We do not conquer, we protect. We do not destroy unnecessarily. We free, we assist, and we teach. This is the example we set. Every species deserves the same opportunity to live without oppression." Some delegates began nodding in agreement. They understood that humanity was not a threat to the galaxy, but a force for stability and justice. The Cathari, once feared by all, were now the desperate party. On one recently liberated planet, Captain Ryan Cole and Lieutenant Amy Foster coordinated with local leaders to establish governance. Civilians were learning to manage resources, maintain security, and rebuild infrastructure. Human soldiers were guiding them without taking control, teaching them to be self-reliant. "Look at this," Amy said, pointing to a school where children were learning to read and write for the first time. "This is the real victory, not destroying fleets but giving people their lives back." Ryan smiled. "Every world we liberate strengthens the galaxy. This is how we change the future." In the remaining Cathari systems, chaos reigned. Soldiers were deserting, and enslaved populations were rising independently, inspired by the humans. Xyler attempted to rally his remaining forces, but the Empire was unraveling faster than he could contain. Captain Ryan's fleet moved from system to system, dismantling remaining military installations and ensuring that liberated populations could govern themselves. Resistance groups trained by humans coordinated efforts to defend their worlds and maintain stability. On Earth, President Laura Benson received reports from across the galaxy. "The Cathari are surrendering one world after another," she said. "Our strategy has worked. Humanity has proven that a small species, disciplined and united, can change the galaxy." General Hayes nodded. "We must continue until the last Cathari system is liberated. Only then can we ensure lasting peace." Meanwhile, the Council Hall prepared to recognize humanity's efforts formally. Ambassador Daniel Carter addressed the Assembly once more. "We do not claim power for ourselves. We claim responsibility for what is right. The Cathari have enslaved countless beings for centuries. Humanity has acted not for glory, but to restore justice. Let this be the beginning of a new era, where no species is forced into chains." Delegates from liberated worlds rose, showing support. Some species that had once doubted humanity now offered aid and recognition. The Council, once skeptical of the young species, began to see humans as leaders capable of guiding the galaxy toward fairness and cooperation. Captain Ryan Cole prepared his fleet for the final engagements. The remaining Cathari forces were concentrated on a handful of worlds, but their morale was shattered. Human strategy, speed, and care for civilians had turned the tide completely. Lieutenant Amy Foster studied the tactical display. "Captain, the remaining Cathari fleets are trying to regroup at two main planets. We can strike them simultaneously. It will end the war." Ryan nodded. "Then we do it. No unnecessary destruction. Our goal is liberation, not vengeance. Every life we save matters." The fleet jumped into hyperspace and emerged above the first target planet. Human ships disabled Cathari defenses with precise strikes. Ground teams landed to assist liberated populations and dismantle remaining military operations. Civilians were protected, and rebel groups were guided to maintain order. At the same time, another fleet approached the second Cathari planet. Coordination was perfect. The enemy was overwhelmed not by force alone, but by the speed, strategy, and precision of the human attack. Within hours, both planets were under human and allied control. Xyler received word of the defeats. His empire was finished. He called a council of his remaining leaders. "We have lost," he said quietly. "Humanity has proven stronger, faster, and smarter. They fight with purpose, not anger. We have no choice but to surrender." Ambassador Daniel Carter received the surrender messages and coordinated with Earth's leaders. The Cathari leadership agreed to hand over control of their worlds and release all enslaved populations. Terms were negotiated to ensure stability and prevent future oppression. On the liberated planets, celebrations erupted. Humans had not only destroyed military targets but had left governance and order in place. Populations celebrated freedom, rebuilding their lives with guidance from human teams. Schools reopened, communities organized, and families reunited. The humans had shown the galaxy that war could be fought with justice and purpose. Captain Ryan Cole watched from orbit as people danced in the streets and rebuilt their homes. Lieutenant Amy Foster joined him, smiling quietly. "We've done more than win battles. We've given people hope, freedom, and a future." Ryan nodded. "This is humanity's real victory. Not the fleets, not the weapons, but the lives we've saved and the worlds we've restored." Back on Earth, President Laura Benson addressed her team. "The Cathari have surrendered. Humanity's first war across the galaxy is complete, but the work is not finished. We must ensure peace, assist with governance, and help rebuild the systems we have liberated. This is our responsibility, and we will fulfill it." General Matthew Hayes added, "The galaxy will remember this war. They will remember that a young, small species stood against tyranny and won. They will see that strength and justice together can change the course of history." In the council hall, Ambassador Daniel Carter made a final address. "Let this war be remembered not for the destruction it caused, but for the freedom it restored. Humanity does not claim the galaxy. We claim responsibility for what is right. Every species deserves freedom. Every life deserves respect. Let this be the beginning of a new era, where justice and cooperation guide the galaxy." Delegates from countless species rose in applause. For the first time, humanity was recognized not as a minor species, but as a leader capable of shaping the future. Allies from liberated systems pledged to work together, sharing technology, knowledge, and resources. Captain Ryan Cole prepared to lead his fleet back toward Earth. The mission was complete, but the impact would last for generations. Humanity had shown the galaxy that courage, discipline, and a sense of justice could overcome oppression, even from the most powerful enemies. Lieutenant Amy Foster looked out at the stars. "The galaxy has changed forever. Humanity will not be forgotten." Ryan smiled. "No, it won't. We've done more than win a war. We've shown the galaxy what a species can achieve when it fights for what is right. And this is only the beginning." As the human fleets returned home, the liberated worlds continued to thrive. Communities rebuilt, trade routes reopened, and governments were established with guidance from humans and allied species. Formerly enslaved populations began to govern themselves, learning to maintain peace and justice. Humanity's actions had inspired countless others to rise and protect freedom in their own systems. On Earth, celebrations were held. Citizens cheered for the fleets and leaders who had led humanity to victory. President Laura Benson addressed the world. "We have faced a great challenge, and we have met it. Humanity has proven that even a young species can stand against oppression, defend justice, and change the galaxy. But this is only the beginning. We must continue to protect freedom, to teach others, and to ensure that no species ever suffers as the Cathari once made them suffer." Captain Ryan Cole stood among the returning fleet. He looked at the young soldiers, pilots, and engineers. "We fought for freedom, and we won. But remember, our work does not end with the war. We must help the galaxy heal, rebuild, and learn from this. That is the true mission of humanity." Lieutenant Amy Foster nodded. "And we will. Humanity will continue to lead not through fear, but through justice, strength, and care." The galaxy was watching. Humanity had launched its first war across the stars, and it had done so with honor. Empires had fallen, worlds had been freed, and the Council had learned that humans were no longer to be ignored. A new era had begun, one where strength was measured not by conquest alone, but by the courage to protect, the wisdom to plan, and the heart to fight for what was right. Captain Ryan Cole and his fleet looked out at the stars one last time before returning to Earth. The Cathari Dominion was gone, but the message was clear. Humanity had entered the galaxy as a young species, but it had become a force that could reshape history, inspire hope, and protect the innocent. And so, humanity's first war across the galaxy ended not with destruction, but with liberation, justice, and the promise of a brighter future for all species. The galaxy would remember the day when humans, small and underestimated, rose to protect the weak, defeat a tyrant, and begin a new chapter in the story of the stars.